He still doesn't like the way the Tennessee situation was handled.
I don't ever want to turn this to a black-white issue, but it will really puzzle me, seriously, if anybody would ever told Brett Favre to make that move. If anybody would ever tell Peyton Manning not to walk in the Indianapolis facility. Nah, I can never understand it, and I never will. I never will, because it's heartless. It's heartless to do a man like that without an explanation.
Ray said that he didn't want to suggest that it was a racially motivated decision, but he said the same people would never have made the same decision on Brett Favre or on Peyton Manning. Do you agree with his theory?
Everybody have their theory, you know, but, you know, I try not to get into that racial, you know, statement, but, and I'm all about giving people the benefit of the doubt. You know, I always say, you know, you can't mix your personal feelings with this business. And I always feel like, you know, if you do, that's when things like that happen. It's why it'll never happen to a Peyton Manning, it'll never happen to a Brett Favre, and it probably would never happen to those guys. But it happened to me, and that's all that I can account for.
You can hear more of Ed's interviews in his report on Sunday NFL Countdown. Titans, meanwhile, released this statement in response to Ray Lewis's comments. Quote, as we said repeatedly through the difficult offseason process with Steve, we definitely could have handled the situation better. The notion that race had something to do with it has no place in this discussion. The statement continued, we respect Steve a great deal for what he did and meant to this franchise. I think you would be hard-pressed to find a franchise in the NFL that has done more for African-American quarterbacks than this one, and we hope that Steve will someday join Warren Moon in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Really good defense. The Ravens and Steve Mcnair on the road in Tampa. First drive for the Ravens. McNair looking for Todd Heap, and that, as we like to say, is a good look.
He's going to have his best season, Heap is, under Steve McNair.
Walter in at quarterback. No question now who's quarterback for the Ravens. After all these years, they know who's playing. It's Steve McNair, Derek Mason. Those two together had some magic at Tennessee. They're going to do it again in Baltimore. The Storm and Mormon. Todd Heap catches this one from McNair. 16-3 Baltimore.
Kading, but the winner on the scoreboard, Kading, 13-7. Steve McNair to Todd Heap. Third quarter, and the Storm and Mormon makes a big catch for 28 yards. Then McNair and Derek Mason, so many years together at Tennessee. There he is at the 10. He's dragged inside the 5. Jamal Lewis tries to go over the top on 3rd and 1 in the 4th, but he is stopped. Ravens get the ball back 2.5 minutes ago. McNair to Mark Clayton. On many of these plays, he hung into the last possible moment, taking big-time pops, Tom. And then McNair escapes, and he doesn't get... Bow! Rumbles 12 tough yards down to the 23. McNair, minute and a half to go. To Clayton, 13 yards down to the 10. And then, tick, 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 2 plays later. 41 seconds. Steve McNair to Todd Heap. Bang! That was Sean Merriman that tried to knock the ball out, but didn't make the tackle. And McNair, Ravens, win it.
2 minutes ago with no timeouts, you know, you just got to be relaxed and go out there and make every play count. And I think, you know, a lot of people, you know, shy away from that. You know, I live for that.
And while McNair may still not be putting up the numbers that once made him the league's MVP, his ability to win in the clutch is changing the dynamic in the Ravens locker room.
It's not offense versus defense.
Left yesterday's game against the Panthers with a concussion and neck sprain, was released from the hospital after all tests on his head and neck were negative. The Ravens are off this week, and Coach Brian Billick expects McNair to be able to start in 2 weeks against the Saints. McNair getting jacked up. Plays against the 5-1 Saints. Early he called goose or wedge up the middle, or wedge right or wedge left. It just means raw. Steve McNair, take it in the house for yourself. Now, Josh, how was Billick's play calling different than Jim Fossil's?
Real simple. He accentuated the running game. They cut down the volume of the offense. To accentuate the running game, it opens up plays like this to Todd Heap off the play-action passing game, Stu.
McNair, 17 of 23, 159 yards. Not great numbers, but successful. Here looking for Todd Heap, one of the best young tight ends in the game.
Great throw.
Weaved it through like 14 people. The same 14 Denver should have had him. Hey, Jamal Lewis, 20.
and see the. But this just still looks odd. But Steve McNair, Baltimore Ravens in Tennessee. He was MVP. It's a 10-7 Tennessee lead. Then McNair back to pass. He's at what? Safety.
That's a safety. He stepped out of the end zone. Back of the end zone. It's 2 points for the other team.
Well, that was a heck of a play. It didn't count. 12-7.
7, the Titans lead. But you know, Steve McNair is Steve McNair for a reason. Rolls out of the pocket. Mark Clayton, apparently no one saw him. No one has still seen him.
Great fake, great design.
65-yard touchdown strike. Longest completion of McNair's career since 2003 when he was co-MVP with one Peyton Manning. Second quarter, it's 26-7. It's 26-7 in favor of Tennessee.
You would think you'd be able to hold them off, right? If you have an offense and a defense.
Not
right?
if you have O.V. Mahaley, who breaks a tackle.
Breaks 2 tackles.
It's 26-14 at the break.
I need a Q dog.
You know what? You need
Steve
Demetrius
McNair.
Williams first is what you need.
When you have big-time throws like that, man. Wow,
Ravens in the red zone. And listen, you knew they were coming back eventually, and it's McNair to Mason. So many great memories for Tennessee. This one against Tennessee as McNair delivers 27-26.
And so Steve McNair and the Ravens win it.
I've been with the organization for 11 years, and having the opportunity to come back and play against them, you know, it was very intriguing. But you know, especially going against Vince, you know, I think he played well today. I think the team is a great young team. And they played their heart out today. Now my head goes off to them all. You know, also the coaching staff. They prepared well. You know, they had the game plan together and they executed. But it's always good to come in and get a win.
They'd be nevermore as defending champions. With apologies to Edgar Allan Poe, but no apologies to Steve McNair, the Ravens, and the way they're playing. First drive, writing on wall. McNair to the Storm and Mormon. Todd Heap, 20 yards, 7-0.
An unbelievable returner.
And changes games around. He'll be missed big time by the Ravens. Meanwhile, Steve McNair pressure. This he can still do to the 30. Safe for the first down, gain of 19. Shutout last week. They had shut out for 3 quarters. Meanwhile, McNair, Mason, it's 4th and 4. Drive still alive, but they really need a lot now. 3rd and 11 later in the drive. Tick, 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 under 7 minutes to go. McNair scrambling, running for it. Slides, and so now it's 4th and 3 at the 11.
The end set up the blitz for Ray Lou. And after all that defense, holla at a player when you see him in the street. Steve McNair.
What happened here?
Wide open Mark Clayton.
Well, somebody broke a coverage there.
Ty Law's looking for help. Quarters coverage. Ty Law was expecting a safety, was not there. McNair's
Cleveland and Baltimore Ravens make the playoffs with the win, but they were in for a ball game early first. Steve McNair has his throwing hand stepped on by Andra Davis. McNair out for the remainder of this one. Said he would play next Sunday after the x-rays were negative. Kyle
Baltimore by. It all comes together because Steve McNair is doing the Steve McNair thing. Have you seen Mark Clayton, Sean?
I've seen him running right down the middle on a post mismatch. Clayton on a safety, as good as Polamalu is. Can't cover him in the open field. Nice job with your eyes. And then down the middle on another one. Look at this. Way too open, too deep zone or whatever it was. Somebody blew the coverage, hits Todd Heap. That's like shooting fish in a barrel, Trey.
I've heard it's easy. That was a 3rd and 13, and then Demetrius Williams suddenly making plays, Merrill.
Not only this, but this is a part of the offense the Ravens have not had, a vertical.
Former NFL quarterback Steve McNair was found shot to death in a condominium complex in Nashville Saturday.
When police officers arrived in response to that call, they found 2 individuals who had been shot to death inside the residence. 1 female, 1 male. We now know that the male deceased is Steve McNair.
Police say the woman was not McNair's wife, Michelle. The scene of the shooting is within view of Titans Stadium, where McNair played most of his 13 seasons in the NFL. A police spokeswoman said that McNair was known to visit the condominium area, but didn't know if he was an owner. In fact, not much was known about the double killings early in the investigation.
It's going to take many hours to process the scene. I don't have any answers for you now as to what's happened, who's responsible, what the circumstances are.
McNair began his career in 1995 with the Houston Oilers, who eventually became the Titans. He was a double threat who could hurt opponents with his running as much as his passing. The 3-time Pro Bowl quarterback had Tennessee within a yard of forcing overtime in the 2000 Super Bowl that they lost to St. Louis. McNair was so banged up at the end of the 2002 season he couldn't practice, but he guided the Titans to wins in the final 5 games, leading them to the AFC Championship game for the 2nd time in 4 seasons. McNair threw for over 31,000 yards and 174 touchdowns in his career. He retired after the 2008 season. Steve McNair was 36. Jim Militello, The Associated Press.
Police in Tennessee are releasing text messages that they say support their contention that the woman they claim killed Steve Mcnair was spiraling out of control. The former NFL MVP was found shot to death this past summer. Authorities say McNair was the victim of a murder-suicide perpetrated by his mistress, but her friends insist she was not suicidal. They want the case reopened. Police, though, are now releasing 50 text messages that were sent in the days and hours before the shooting. They include some in which Saleh Kazemi told McNair she was so stressed she might have a breakdown. She also asked him for $2,000 to pay her bills. Another text said she might need to go to the hospital because she could hardly breathe. Police say the woman also told a co-worker that her life was awful and she should just end it. Authorities say they're not releasing these details in response to calls from Kazemi's friends to reopen the case. They say the texts are part of a larger summary they've been working on in the McNair case. John Belmont, The Associated Press.